Hey, poker people, welcome to another day of hand reading. We're on day 28 of 66 days in a row. I really do feel that this hand reading exercise is totally helping. I just got off of a little session of poker play while the whole time, whoops, sorry. I was recording my game tape and I was making my decisions, and I found myself really assigning ranges every single hand pre-flop and then kind of narrowing it through the streets as we went. And I think I made a couple of pretty good bluffs, two good value bets, but then one hand I kind of misjudged the way they played it, and I called on the river when they had trip tens on the flop, but they just kind of slow played it and lulled me into thinking that I possibly had the best hand. But really, this kind of practice is making its way into my on the felt play, and in allowing me to make some better decisions for it. So I'm really happy I'm doing this. I hope you are doing this kind of practice for yourself as well. So, like I said earlier, day 27, we're doing the villains range, and we looked at three betting hands where I three bet pre-flop, and we covered, I think it was this one earlier. So now let's take a look. The only good hand with some decent action is this one here. Even though we see some checking, let's take a look with this board right here. Let's see if we can narrow our opponent's range all that much. We'll just, basically just give it a shot. Oh, before we start going through the hand here, we've got to whip out the villains template right here. Split suits villains template. In the small blind. 3-bet versus, I don't know what's going to happen here. And then, of course, we need the Flopzilla open. Take a look at that hand again. 87448910. I don't know the date. I'll take a look at the date later. I've been tagging all the hands with 66 days so I don't accidentally repeat any hands during this whole hand reading process. So you can see we've got over a full stack here, up a little bit on this table. Facing a small raise and a call. We decide to 3-bet. Nice, I like it. Okay, cool. So, let's see here. Versus a hijack, open, and an overcall. Hijack calls. And so he just calls. What was our sizing right here? 4 times. Okay, so definitely charging the two players, expecting, look how passive he is. If he calls, I'm expecting him to call quite often, probably. So I'm betting 4x here to make some good value off of these two. But Gil Bates ended up folding. So we've just got us and Satya Palkar here. Let's see what their range is. So we got to think first. They opened and then called a 3-bet. It's not like they just cold called a 3-bet from the big blind or anything. We got to think about what hands are going to open raise first and then decide to call without 4-betting. So we will be removing some 4-betting hands. So let's look at the call 3-bet range. Let's start with this one here. What do we know about this player? 28 hands, 18, 11. Pretty tight aggressive. I think they really could play these hands for an open and a call. Especially only 28 hands. They don't know much about me. So far at this table, I'm an 18-18 tight aggressive player. No 3-bets up to this point. Oh, fold a 3-bet. 0 3-bets up to this point. 0 out of 5 instances. So being my first 3-bet that they've seen from me, it's most likely a pretty strong hand. 22 hands it's out of right here. So given the fact that it's most likely a strong hand, what are they calling with? Well, what size is their stack? There's plenty of money behind. Some people do call these. I'm going to take these out of the range, just all those baby ones. Maybe I'll stick with 7s through jacks calling. Queens or better are 4-betting, so we're taking them out of the range. Not calling, not calling, not calling. Ace 10 offsuit, you could think he is in position right here. They are in position. Nah. Let's be slightly tighter than that last player, because we do see that they are a tight aggressive player. In general, only calling 7% of the time total. Look at that gap between VPIP and PFR. So really, they aren't a wide caller at all. We can expect some, these pocket pairs, some suited connectors, suited broadways, because people love flopping something really strong there. If we do have aces or kings, queen 10 and jack 10 can totally crack those hands, The suited aces can flop a flush or flop a nice flush draw. I can see those being in. Now, oftentimes people, if they're calling king queen suited, they will call the king queen offsuit. Of course, most people know that suited adds equity, but that is possibly in the calling range. Before I know too much more about this player, or the fact that I don't know much about this player makes me just include them in the calling range right now. All those offsuit aces right there. Okay, I think this is a pretty decent range. 13%, 174 combos. Don't know what's going to come. Yep, the hijack calls. And SB folds. So we are heads up here. Flop comes down. Wow, all dim hearts. Oops. All right. Oh, well, before we enter that, what am I 3-betting with pre-flop? Last time I gave myself aces. I think right now I really can, versus this tight aggressive player. And this guy, I really think I could be 3-betting with pocket queens here. So let's give myself the queens. Jack 6. Oh, if I do have the queens, or even kings or aces, a pretty good overpair. I've got 71% equity versus the range. King 75% and aces 85%. Lovely. So we've got the queens. One of the reasons why, if we have pocket aces, it jumps up so much. If we have pocket aces, a big part of their potentially strong card range gets taken away real quick, right? Because we have 2 of the aces. We block a lot of this stuff. Well, if we're blocking a lot of these suited cards, of course, aces are the best possible pair, right? But now that if we don't have kings, they can't flop an overpair to us. They can't have an ace. And then we also take away all these nut flush draw possibilities here by having these. Not take away, we limit their nut flush draw possibilities. So things are looking good with the aces, but we will give ourselves queens, which still looks pretty good. We're winning this 71.5% of the time. So, on the Jack 6-7 board, we really... Okay, if we had the Queen of Hearts, not as bad, you know, but let's just give ourselves a non-heart right now. So we do have 63%. We can see our equity dropped a little bit. They do have plenty of flush draws in their range with all these suited aces and suited cards. But really, they didn't hit this board super strongly, especially if we have an overpair like queens. The things that currently beat us, if we take away these top pairs and take away this stuff, they only hit 14% of the time with a hand that currently beat us, which are just sets and flushes, really. So right now, if we have the overpower, we're pretty happy. We do want to charge them probably for any kind of draws that they might have. So let's see what happens on this. We check out a position. I'm not a big fan of that. Oh, and they check me out. Maybe I was planning on, I don't know, check raising. Maybe I flopped a nut flush or something. So, yes, there was no action here, but we can probably still eliminate some hands from their range because they chose not to bet. They have position. If they have a nut hand, let's say they have pocket 6s, pocket 7s. Did we include jacks? Yes, we included jacks in their range. If they have a set, they're probably going to want to bet because we could be checking right here with an ace of hearts or a king of hearts or even a queen of hearts hand that he doesn't want to give us a free card with. So the fact that he checked tells me that he does not have, what's his stack here? $6, 4x. You know, it is possible to still get in, but I think if he has a flush, I 3-bet pre-flop. I've got to like my hand, right? Pre-flop I did. Maybe not on this flop, but if he wants value, he should be betting all of his flushes, even just like $2 or $3. Even with a nut flush right here, he should be betting because I can call with queens, kings, and aces on this board right now. I might throw away on a 4th heart, but he should try to get value with all of his flushes right now while the getting's good, while I probably still am willing to call a card. So I'm going to take the flushes out of his range because he should be betting there. Sets should be betting on such a wet board. He doesn't want to see a 4th heart for sure. And if I have an overpair, queens, kings, and aces, I'm probably giving him value with his set. So I'm going to take those out of his range. There aren't even any 2 pairs over pairs. Top pairs are in his possible check behind range on such a scary board. Pocket pair below top pair, checking behind mid pairs, weak pairs. Ace highs now. Let's not mark those as checking behind. We might give him some draws that are checking behind here. Oh, well, you know, I mean, I guess we might as well because he's not betting. So let's put them in his check behind range because they are crappy hands. Nut flush draws. Those are all the ace of heart hands. Man, if I had the nut flush draw here, I would if I were him, I'd be betting. And he's looking tight aggressive. He's looking tight aggressive, so I think he would be betting with his nut flush draws. I really think so. Second nuts, those are all the random kings. Okay, ace king and king queen. They're both 2 overcards too. Man, he should be betting those. Third nuts, those are the queens. Oh, look at, they're overcards too. He should be betting them. He might be. We don't know much about him post flop. Man, I'm not going to give him. Well, are these checking behind? He could be super passive and just willing to check behind without a made hand. We just don't know enough about him. He's an unknown player, and currently, what I would think about all of my unknown players that I'm up against, I could put checking behind with all the draws in the range because I just don't know how aggressive they are with draws yet. If I know that somebody loves to check raise or loves to c-bet their draws all the time, then I could take them out of the range. But because he's an unknown, I am going to keep them in the range. These weak flush draws, totally checking behind. Open-endeds, yeah, checking behind, gut shots. So really, 86% of his range is checking behind. The only things that aren't are the made hands that should be betting for some value right now, or for quote-unquote protection with a set versus a fourth heart coming. 118 combos, 86%. Now, if this is their range, we can see it's a pretty weak range overall. Currently, our hand is very good against it. There's plenty of draws in the range, stuff that we do have to worry about. But right now, we do have the pocket queens. I think we should have bet, if this is the hand that we have, I think we should have bet on the flop as a c-bet here. Put him to the test on such a kind of scary board for a lot of players. If he hit nothing, like if he has the ace, I don't know, ace 4 of spades or something, he's probably folding 100% of the time. Even if we have, ace king, ace queen, we don't have a made hand, but we have the good ace, we should be betting here as a bluff. 4 of spades hits. Now, I'm glad that we bet because he checked behind. The 4 doesn't really change anything. Sure, a 5-8 pocket 4s that checked behind just hit a set. Wait, he doesn't have 4s, right? We took 6s and below out. No, so he doesn't have 4s. What else? Pocket 5. Oh, we took out 5s even. He doesn't even have an open-ender. So the 4 basically, with his range, the 4 helped him not at all. We should be bluffing and betting our entire range here. Even if we tried to slow play a flopped flush, a nut flush right now, we should be betting because we've got to bet at some point to try to get some value out of the guy. So this keeps our range pretty darn wide. We could be doing this with queens, kings, aces. We could be doing it with a flush. Could be doing it with ace, king, ace, queen, pocket 9s. Pocket 10s, if I do 3-bet 9s and 10s, those are definitely hands that could be making this bet here. So our bet keeps our range pretty wide. I like it. What does he do? He just calls. Now, what just calls on the 4 of spades? Oh, wait a second. Well, before that hit, we've got to lock this down. Good, so that changed the range. My bad, I didn't change it. Now the 4 of spades hits. And then so we can see he doesn't have any of these good hands. Because the 4 didn't help in any way, he didn't have those hands on the flop, doesn't have them now. Top pairs, random weak jacks on a scary board. Yep, those could be just calling right here. Pocket pair below, yep, because we showed weakness on the flop and the 4 didn't really change anything on the turn, we could still have ace, king, ace, queen, and his pocket pair is currently beating us. Especially those pocket pairs with a random heart, 10s, 9s, or 8s with a heart. Let's see. Mid pairs could be calling one street. Weak pairs, what are they? Oh, the 6 and the 4. Ace 6, ace 4. If he thinks that we have nothing because we check the flop, he could be calling right there because the 4 doesn't change anything at all. Ace highs, let's take those out of his calling range right now just because they are super weak. We'll put some of them in here. No made hands, let's take them out. Nut flush is totally calling. Could possibly raise, but we don't know enough about the player. Second nut flush calling, third nut flush, weak flush draw. No open-ender gut shots on this board calling? Heck no, they shouldn't be at least. I wouldn't be calling. And he is a tight aggressive player, so I'm going to kind of, right now, because he's kind of unknown but slightly tight aggressive, I'm going to assume he's like me. 74 hands, 63%. 74 hands. So we've taken down from 174 down to 74. Removed 100 hands, 100 combos from his range. Currently, if this is his range, we're ahead 81% of the time. We love our overpair right now. Things are looking pretty. Ooh, pair on the board and 4 flush in the board. Look at that. So now you could see, holy cow, look at our equity dropped from 81% with our lovely overpair. Now that we don't have the heart, of course, if we had the heart, things would look great. But we don't have the heart. Paired board. 7-6. I mean, I guess that counterfeits any possible 2 pairs that we didn't put 7-6 in his range. But if he had a 7-6, that counterfeits. We're now ahead of that. But currently, our equity dropped big time to 54%. So I think we do have to be careful on this river right here. We check, and he checks behind. Okay, great. So let's just look at, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we could just see showdown right now, but let's at least think about what hands are checking behind at this point. Nut flushes? Heck no. Second nut flush? No way those are checking behind. Third nut flush? Those queens, are they really going to check behind? I think they're betting, what's the pot? $11? I mean, how are we going to check behind with any kind, or not check behind, how are we going to check on this river with any kind of flush? We want value from the guy. The fact that we checked, we're not trying to check raise on this board. No way. So he's got to be betting. He's got to be betting. Weak flushes, I guess, are in a check behind because they're so weak. Maybe he's a scared player post-flop. 3 of a kind just hit a random 4 just now. On a 4 flush, yeah, if that was the 4 of clubs, I could see 3 of a kind betting. But on the 4 of hearts, nah. So all this other bad stuff is checking behind. So his check behind range is actually pretty darn wide. And if that is his range, I mean, all that, of course, we obviously beat it all, even with just our 1 overpair here. Not all of it. I mean, we beat most of it. 3 of a kind has us beat. But yeah, things are looking good for our hand right now. That's the final range. We are going to put him on. 65% of his turn range, 48 combos. Look at that! We did have the queens. Spade club. Whoops, got rid of it. Spade and a club right there. Lovely. What did he have? Ace jack of spades. That is in his range. Good. So it was a top pair hand that we kept in the whole way. It does make sense if we look at it. On the flop right there, it makes total sense. Checking behind, he does not have a heart. He has a top pair, showdown worthy hand. No need to bet right now and then be scared or blown off of a check raise possible. So I understand that. 4 doesn't change anything, but he's probably scared of a possible flush. So he does just call, controlling the pot size with his showdown worthy hand. Now the 4 hits. He doesn't know what to think. We could easily have a random, it could have been Jack 10 with a 10 of hearts or pocket 9s with a 9 of hearts right here. So it makes sense just checking behind, getting to showdown, trying to win that $11 or $12 pot, and we end up taking it down. So great. That is good. Yeah, so he just passively played his top pair on such a scary board. I probably would have played exactly the same way as him. I do prefer, though, making a flop cbet on my part here. Because on that board, there's so much that he could be folding that, it's possible. He could fold his pocket 9s, his pocket 8s. If he does have 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s in his range with a heart, we could be getting all of those to fold, which, or call to give us value because he doesn't have a flush just yet. So if we would have bet, and if he did have any random heart, we would have gotten value on the flop and possibly gotten value on the turn. We would have lost on the river, but when you have the best hand and you're betting and getting called by draws, those draws are giving you money because they have not hit their hand yet. So I would like a value bet on this flop here because we're getting every single heart in his range to call. When we double barrel, if we had double barreled the turn, great, it's possible we're getting even more value out of all those random hearts that are calling. And we would have gotten value from his top pair. He would have called the flop and the turn with just a top pair hand. So I think we missed out on value by not c-betting on the flop. We were out of position on a scary board, so I understand why I checked instead of betting. But looking at it now, I prefer the bet. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back tomorrow with day 29. I'll probably do a heroes range tomorrow, or possibly both ranges, hero and villain. Peace out.